Can you tell us just a little bit about who you are, what you do there, and what you've been doing since the storm?
My name is Alejandro Calaf. I grew up in Puerto Rico. I went to boarding school in Pennsylvania. I went to a college in Philadelphia. I got a degree in finance. When I came back to Puerto Rico, I worked in corporate banking for about 1.5 years. And then after that, I owned a small business. Well, actually, I owned about 5 small businesses over the course of 12 years. And then on the 12th year, I just got bored and tired of what I was doing. I just didn't see any more personal or professional growth out of it. So I sold everything, became a paralegal, and started law school. And right now I'm in my 4th year of law school. I'll be graduating in December of 2018. Since Maria hit, as I said before, the first 2 weeks I hardly ventured out anywhere because they were rationing gasoline, and I only used my pickup truck for picking up propane gas for my father's generator as well as my neighbor's generator, because I was I was living at my dad's house. And after the second week, when the lines at the gas stations weren't neither 18 hours long nor 3 hours long anymore, that's when I started to venture out into the island. And during that time, a friend of mine from boarding school, Ian Stewart, him and I were talking, and he and I started with getting water filters to Puerto Rico. It was initially just going to be about 5 or 6 of his friends, and within a week or two, I had to register a nonprofit in Puerto Rico because all of a sudden we lost count about how much humanitarian aid we were receiving, as well as water filters that we were receiving. I'm also waiting to receive some water filters from Switzerland and Austria. And these were the first people that I spoke to about this project. And yeah, I've also been working with a group called Oregon from Puerto Rico for a long time. I basically received maybe half a pallet to a pallet of the donated humanitarian aid from Oregon every week. And this week I've also been working with another local NGO called Together for Puerto Rico. They get donations and I just take them to wherever I find out that they're needed. Lastly, this week I linked up with Oxfam and with Veterans for Puerto Rico. And they confided in me to both deliver some very high quality filters to heavily needed areas. And Veterans for Puerto Rico gave me a water filter system that I can instantly make within a half hour about 250 gallons of fresh drinking water on the spot. And I can make a total of about 1,000 gallons in one day. That includes building and deploying the system as well as picking it up. So yeah, I've grown by leaps and bounds a lot, and I have a great support team all over via Facebook all over America, including Erica and including Margarita. So we're really going. Oh yeah, and I also have to mention the Unity Warriors out in Arecibo. I've been working a lot with them, and we've done a lot of good stuff done.
That's great. So at this point, what do you see are the biggest needs when you're out traveling around and you just go, oh, wow, we need to do something about that? What are the top 4 or 5 things you see?
Okay. There are a lot of homes without roofs, and there are a lot of people still living in those homes without roofs, including here in San Juan. Sometimes it's because it's a single mother with a special needs son who she can't get out of bed, and she just can't get him anywhere because she just can't leave her home, or nobody's offered to take her to a place where her son can get some proper care. And I heard about this woman in Carolina. I hope to visit her sometime this week and see what we can do. At first, it was a problem of not enough tarps being here in Puerto Rico. I heard that part of the problem is that on a global scale, manufacturers couldn't just keep up with demand with the people who suffered in the entire Caribbean region, as well as people in Texas and Florida. But there are more blue tarps coming in, but a lot of people are depending on FEMA to put them up. But the federal government's response, everybody knows, has been incredibly slow in Puerto Rico. So a lot of churches and a lot of other NGOs have stepped up to the plate and tried to fill the gap. I've seen a lot of, I was in Jayuya in a barrio called Salto this past weekend, and all the blue tarps that I saw there were installed by a church group. I've even heard that since getting enough blue tarp here has been difficult, there's even people just buying print vinyl, the vinyl that you would use to make signs or make billboards on the road. They're just buying blue or white vinyl and using that to fix roofs as a temporary fix because of I wouldn't say there's a lack of blue tarp anymore. I just think that we need more groups out there delivering blue tarp. Number two, the other pressing matter is getting more water filters to everybody. It isn't just a problem out in the very remote areas in Puerto Rico. I spoke with a college professor, with a law professor of mine. She told me, I asked her because about 20 years ago, there was a community that's called Cubuy in Canóvanas. They are right by the rainforest, but for a span of about 3 years, they had no running water because of no particular reason other than the agencies and the government just didn't really care. So she sued, and in a day she won and got everything she needed. That included driving cistern trucks up to Cubuy for a period of 2 years until the entire sewage and aqueduct system was rebuilt from scratch in Cubuy. And I believe that they don't have water there because a lot of the pipes got affected to bring water up there and everything right now. But anyway, I asked my professor because of her expertise. She told me that she spoke with 2 colleagues from the University of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez. One is a biologist, one is a chemist. They took samples from the treatment plants that take water from Lake Carraízo, Lake La Plata, and another lake that I don't remember the name out in Isabela. So they took samples from the water coming out of those potable water plants that feed our aqueduct and sewer system. And right now the water here in San Juan and in the entire metro area, all the way out to Arecibo, and maybe think of the entire North Coast. It's completely infected with salmonella and E. coli to start. So it is an island-wide problem where nobody is spared. We need more filters. We need them to get them eventually into every home, I would say. Because part of the problem that the potable water treatment plants that feed our systems all over the North Coast is that upstream there are some sewage treatment plants that are not running at full capacity. So we are getting sewage into the reservoirs or lakes that feed our potable water to the entire metro area. The government is not going to report this. But if you like, I can see if I can get the professors to sign off on this. Sorry, dogs. They're my kids. What can I say?
Well,
it's always the smallest one who's the tough one.
Always.
Yeah, always. So there's that issue. I could find out if they could send their testing results or something to you if you'd like. We can see. Finally, what else can I say?
well, electricity. That would
Electricity. What we need is solar-powered anything from solar lithium battery units, I heard of the other day of solar powered ovens. We could test those out and see if they work. Solar powered lights, of course. I've heard of small refrigerators that can run on solar. They're good enough for like a couple of 6-packs of soda, for instance. Solar powered anything is key. As much as far as foodstuffs and everything like that goes, right now it would be best for people to just send monetary donations out here, and we can buy all that stuff locally. All the NGOs, all the churches, and everything, and one way or another stimulate our economy with that. So I've already asked, for instance, Oregon for Puerto Rico to dial it down with foodstuffs and toiletries, because we can get those here. But
well, that's another question I have for you, is the availability of things. Is it, can you buy food? Can you buy ice? Can you buy tarps and camping supplies? Can you buy any of the things that people might need immediately there?
Okay, camping supplies, not so much. Tarp, yes, we can get here, but it's always welcome if somebody mails it to us. Mosquito screens, so that people could set them up over their beds. That would definitely work very well as well. Insect repellents we can buy here, and actually I'm buying from from an artisan local person. She also makes insect repellents. I buy mine directly from her. So I can help out the economy as well in my own small way. But camping supplies, just about anything from a camping supply store is always welcome here. And and battery powered anything, or hand crank powered anything, like I said earlier. And now, lastly, can get mattresses here. We can buy them, most certainly, but if anybody out there wants to make an NGO that can send mattresses out here and beds, that would be great, because also it isn't just mattresses. A lot of parents lost the cribs and the mattresses to the cribs to their kids. That's been a very serious problem in many poor income communities.
So what's the best way to ship stuff like that to you?
Obviously, the small stuff, the best way to ship it is by air. Even the U.S. Postal Service is great for that. For mattresses, some big like that, I think it'd be best to work with either a larger corporate sponsor and a well-established NGO that can get stuff easily out of ports, because I'm sure that the situation's changed, but the last experiences that I had with asking about how easy it was to get stuff out from ports, at that time it was very, very difficult for a number of reasons. But now that there's at least power and internet back at ports, I would assume, expect, and hope that it's a lot easier.
Okay. Once you get out of the cities, the bigger cities, what's the electricity and water situation once you get in sort of in the interior or away from cities?
Well, both of those situations, for instance, there's a website called status.pr. It was made by the government. That website is going to tell you that there is 80%, it just says Puerto Rico water and sewage, 80%. Now that is not 80% of homes, even though they would like us to think that. We that are out on the field know that that's about 80% of the pumps and the plants working, yet not at full capacity. So for power, the generation has gotten better, but there have been a lot of mishaps and a lot of blackouts during the last couple of weeks. They started to get everything good. I mean, I moved back to my apartment this week. That's how bad it was. No, I've been in my apartment 1 week already. That's the correct term. 7 days. But even with that, I've had a whole bunch of blackouts. And I can tell you that once you leave San Juan, once you leave San Juan, you're going to see a lot of barrios and a lot of areas without any power. I mean, Last week I was in the southern town of Coamo, and they had gotten power to the town center about maybe a couple of days before I got there. When you go up to Jayuya, the town center has power, but out in the barrios, outlying areas, they don't have power. My friends, Jaime and Carmen, they live in Rio Grande, maybe about 5 to 10 minutes off of the Route 3, which is the main road that takes you out to the east coast of Puerto Rico. They are going to be without power for a year. The optimistic guess is that they may have power by Easter.
Wow.
So there are people that are going to be without power for well over a year. If you drive all over the mountain areas, you're going to see a lot of light posts on the street and a lot of wires on the ground. It's going to be very bad for a lot of people for a long time.
Yeah. What's the cell phone coverage like?
It's gotten a lot better. Yesterday when I was in the central town of Adjuntas, I didn't have signal there. But for instance, I did have signal once I reached the town of Utuado, and that was impossible a month ago or a month and a half ago. And the town of Arecibo and Camuy, they've got pretty decent reception now. So I met with some guys from AT&T that are staying at a hotel and rented some rooms here. They're contracted to fix towers, and they're working really, really hard, and they've been focusing on the center of the island and spreading outwards and downwards. So little by little, it's getting better, but still there are many areas on the island that there is just no signal. And there are so many areas where the cell phone towers are operating by a generator. And generators are not meant to be running 24/7 or even, 24/7 for months at a time. Yeah. So it's a very precarious situation. And the repairs that they're doing to our power grid are basically just Band-Aids, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, our power grid is shot. It is old. It is inefficient. There are not enough parts in Puerto Rico. They just can't get them here fast enough. And once they fix it, the ideal thing is to start making a new one right underneath the existing ones.
Yeah. So I got a couple more areas. I just really would love to hear what you know about this. Medications. What do people need, and how are they getting them?
It's gotten better, and I do know that some hospitals and, of course, some donators have sent some supplies here. I do believe Sloan Kettering has sent much desperately needed chemotherapy medicines. There has been a better supply coming in. There are still people being evacuated out of Puerto Rico so they can get better care out in the States or anywhere else for that matter. The first couple of weeks, it was just an exodus of relief flights. And to be honest, I've heard of a couple that were just get the patient on the plane and let's drop them off at a hospital anywhere in New York City. And that's not the way that you do that correctly. There were no referrals, no medical records, no family that received them. So the doctors had to start from scratch. That was not a pretty picture, as my friends told me. There are many hospitals and CDTs where you could call them secondary care units before they send you to the main hospital that are working with generators and are working with interrupted power constantly. The comfort ship left, a hospital ship left Puerto Rico last week. They could have done a lot more, but bureaucracy ruined everything for about well over a week. And unfortunately, we also have still an exodus of medical professionals and doctors and nurses leaving Puerto Rico. So it's an uphill battle, not just in medication, but also in manpower and doctors and expertly trained people. Also,
let's clarify a little bit why they're leaving.
They're leaving because better opportunities in the States, better pay, and as for the doctors, better working conditions, as in less stress, less insurance premiums. And even before the storm, the truth is that medical insurance companies here have been strangling doctors, nurses, and hospitals as much as they can, even pharmacies. The medical insurance industry has a very tight chokehold on Puerto Rico, and they're killing us, basically, and destroying an industry altogether. But we have gotten a lot of volunteer doctors, and some have come back temporarily, but we'll see how long it lasts and how much longer we can keep hospitals open with interrupted power and interrupted generators. And also how fast we can get our pharmaceutical manufacturers going, because a lot of the pharmaceutical plants here in Puerto Rico did have significant structural damage. And it isn't just about fixing, it's also about conditioning and sanitizing a plant before you get it operating again. So there are a lot of issues with healthcare and medical care here at Medicines.
And we're hearing a lot of reports of underreported hurricane-related deaths. Is that what you're seeing too?
That is true. That is true. They are keeping the official tally at 55 or 56, but morgues this island-wide reported that they have maybe 600 ready to go people to take out of the morgues. There are still temporary freezer units all over the island, still working on generators, and they're full of bodies. There's still the issue of the authorized cremation of 911 people, and there's still the issue of people who had to be buried in backyards of family because they had been uncontacted or cut off from any contact with anybody for a matter of weeks, so they had to bury their dead somehow. The body count is not 56. It is well over 1,000. Well over 1,000. Who knows if it's in the thousands even, because I don't know what protocol they have in the government, but hurricane-related deaths months afterwards, be it from people who caught waterborne disease or did not receive the proper care or have had inconsistent access to oxygen tanks, or maybe somebody who was in a surgery when all of a sudden the hospital generator went dead in the middle of surgery, and doctors had to work with what they had on hand, and nurses had to hold flashlights and iPhones to keep everybody illuminated. And of course, suicides and mental health related deaths is something that needs to be accounted for after the storm. So whatever protocol the local government has, I assure you that it is mostly a lie.
Have you experienced or met people where this has personally happened to?
Of course. Yeah. Yes, I've met that I personally know that they died from a death related to the hurricane. I don't, but my friend Koki, she's the doctor that I know of in Sloan Kettering in New York. She had a friend die during the storm, and they did recover the body, and it was identified. What else? On my first trip to Naguabo almost a month ago, I was handing out water filters to a community that was completely devastated. It's the second worst place I've seen. And I gave a water filter to a woman, and she said, "Thank you. I lost my 14-year-old son 2 weeks ago due to leptospirosis, and with this now you're giving me hope for my 9-year-old daughter." And yeah, you just hear about stories of people dying. You hear secondhand stories, and while I'm out there, I'm doing a job. I can turn off. It's not that I can turn off. I can just lower the amp on my empathy and compassion buttons, and just do a job and hug people and kiss them on the cheek, give them a joke. Stuff like that, just to make them feel a little bit better. And of course, one of the things that I made a point of doing is when people say thank you to me, I am sure to thank them for giving me the privilege to offer them my help and for them trusting me for it. So yeah, that's who I am.
So one of the things that people want to do over here in the States is, well, and then on Facebook across the world, is they go, how can we help? How can we help? You have a 501c something or another, right?
No, I still, tomorrow I'm going to finish the application process for the 501c, and a couple of friends with 501c also gave they gave me some pointers on how to get something that usually takes 18 months on how to get it done in a couple of weeks. So as an approval from the IRS. So I'll be working with that. Thank goodness I got friends in Washington. Other than that, this Tuesday, my co-president, Ian Stewart, he finally got us registered in Facebook for our for Giving Tuesday on Facebook, where Facebook and the Bill Gates and Melinda Gates foundations are going to be matching matching donations to different foundations all over Facebook. So we're going to reach out to all our donors and all our friends and all our friends' friends.
Well, so tell us what that is. While we're here, and you're going to be talking to lots of people through this little video, so
okay,
tell us how to do that.
Okay, there are 3 ways that you can donate to me. We have a donate button on our Facebook page for that you can donate via PayPal. We also have a
Facebook page is the name of your
Water. My Facebook page is Water for Puerto Rico.
Okay, and there's a donate button on that.
There's a donate button there. We also have a You Caring campaign that we're looking for donations so we can bring in a DIVVY system or more DIVVY systems into Puerto Rico. These systems can make about 40,000 gallons of water before their filters need to be changed, and they can make a couple thousand gallons of water a day. And they're not battery or operated, or do they require a generator? It just requires human power and a couple of minutes for it to be set up. So I said Facebook and the You Caring campaign, and finally, I also have a website called www.getwater2puertorico.com. There you yourself can buy some water filters from Sawyer and have them sent directly to us so we can then get them out to wherever they're needed. And finally, this weekend, this Tuesday, there's going to be a Giving Tuesday campaign on Facebook, where Facebook and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are going to match all donations to foundations that are going to be participating that day on social media via Facebook. So we're going to be participating on that, and hopefully we'll get some donations that will be matched.
And what's the name of the foundation?
Mine is Water for Puerto Rico.
Okay, so that's your Facebook page and where they go to look to donate on Giving Tuesday.
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay.
And yeah, that's it.
Well, this is a lot of information. It's really great to have it firsthand.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Is there anything else important you just want people to know?
Yeah, believe it or not, calling your congressman and your senator has worked for Puerto Rico. Please remember that because of history, not because of the American public, we do not have we have a representative in Congress, but that representative doesn't have a vote. So basically, they're just there as a decoration. But I have learned that by rallying people to call their congressman and write their congressman, it does work, and they do take it very seriously in Congress. It does really throw a wrench in the gears of special interests that might be against some of our requests as citizens. And what I'm asking people this time is to please call their congressman or their senator or write to them, because the House just approved, and it's going up to the Senate in their new budget proposal, a 20% tax on all exports from Puerto Rico. I do not know why. That doesn't make any sense. So it's not just our rum. It's not just our coffee. It's 30% of all the medicines that you take in the United States, from your Viagra to your vaccines, to your Robitussin, to your Tylenol, to your allergy medicine, to your asthma medicine. It's going to be 20% more expensive if this bill gets passed with that in it. And it's finally going to kill Puerto Rico. If it's expected to pass, you're going to see the rest of the factories in Puerto Rico closing, and you're going to see 250,000 businesses close.
So, wait a minute. So which bill is this?
The budget proposal.
Oh, it's in the budget proposal to add 20% to the export tax on
all Puerto Rican goods.
On all Puerto Rican goods.
Being exported from the island, yeah.
Wow.
So, and before any brainiac tells me, yeah, but that would violate the Commerce Clause. The Commerce Clause applies to to most of its extent in Puerto Rico. However, we don't want to wait for it to go to the Supreme Court to see if it's a violation for this territory or not. We cannot afford, we just can't afford that to even get signed by the president, period.
Wow.
Yeah.
So rally around, people, write your congressman about that one.